We begin tonight with new developments in the deadly school shooting in Parkland.
The Parkland.
Location is Stone Douglas in Parkland, Florida.
On the 14th of February 2018, residents in Parkland, Florida would learn the news that a devastating and horrific mass shooting had taken place at one of the schools within the area, sparking a community and nationwide conversation in relation to the incident, shocking the entire country and world. The Parkland shooting was more than a single moment of violence. It was a turning point. In this video, we examine what happened at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, the lives forever changed, and the lasting impact on schools, laws, and activism across the United States. Nicholas Cruz was born on the 24th of September 1998 in Florida, more specifically in the city of Margate within Florida. Nicholas had been adopted as an infant by two parents, Roger Cruz, who died when Nicholas was 6 years old, and his mother Linda Cruz, who had died just months before the shooting had taken place from pneumonia. His mom worked various different jobs, including a teacher's aide and in other educational roles. As Nicholas grew up, his mom struggled to manage to care for him as she was a single parent, with her seemingly struggling financially whilst Nicholas was growing up. Accounts as to his childhood often bring up the fact that his childhood was largely unstable and troubled, showing an aggressive nature from young, with serious behavioral problems being raised to his peers. Amongst these concerning behavioral problems included random outbursts of anger, violent outbursts, and problems in both school and with the authorities. During his youth, Nicholas was often changing schools within the local area, before eventually staying at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School before then being suspended from this school. In 2017, at the age of 18, his mom passed away, and following this, Nicholas was described by others as becoming increasingly more isolated and unstable. During his time at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, Nicholas Cruz experienced social isolation and bullying, something many American teenagers face. However, reports also indicate that he contributed to this environment, sometimes bullying and threatening other students himself. In fact, several classmates later said they feared him. During his teenage years, Nicholas became increasingly involved in incidents that brought him to the attention of the police. Over the years, police had dozens of contacts with him, even visiting his home over 30 times over the years, with the FBI even receiving tips as to his violent behavior, with one major tip being sent just weeks before the shooting. This alerted authorities to his behavior once again, with the tip describing him as capable of carrying out a school shooting. That tip was never properly investigated. Little did anyone know, in the weeks before the 14th of February 2018, when the tip was originally posted, Nicholas had in fact been planning a shooting, choosing the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School as his target. In fact, Nicholas told a psychiatrist in jail after the shooting that he had been thinking about committing a mass shooting since he was around 12 or 13 years old. In the months leading up to the attack, Nicholas had found himself engrossed in different mass shooters, often studying how other school shooters carried out and planned their attacks, including the Columbine shooting and Virginia Tech shooting. In 2017, when Nicholas Cruz was 18, he legally bought an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle from the Sunrise Tactical Supply, which was a licensed firearms store in Coral Springs, Florida, which was not far from the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. After this purchase, he continued to buy more firearms from the same store. In the weeks and days leading up to the shooting, Nicholas would use his phone camera as a journal, often recording videos of him speaking about his life. Within some of these videos, however, Nicholas would talk about how he would, quote,
Hello, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people. With an AR-15 and a couple tracer rounds, I think I can get done.
On the 11th of February 2018, 3 days before the shooting, in one of these videos recorded on his phone, Nicholas was heard speaking about his plan.
Alright, so here's the plan. I'm gonna go take an Uber in the afternoon before 2:40. From there, I'll go onto school campus, walk up the stairs, unload my bags, and get my AR and shoot people down at the main courtyard. I'll wait, and people will die.
The night before the shooting, on the 13th of February 2018, Nicholas Cruz would place his AR-15 into a bag, as well as a few magazines and a shooting vest in order to carry his ammunition easily. He practiced adjusting the gun's sights, as well as imagining the recoil on the guns. He also planned to wear a burgundy polo shirt from his old JROTC program in order to blend in with other students after the attack, so he was able to avoid suspicion. He planned to get an Uber before the attack, planning to tell the driver that he was going to a music lesson, hence the large bag containing his gun. Amongst some searches made by Nicholas before the shooting included Marjory Stoneman Douglas hours, school map for Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, and how long does it normally take for a cop to get to a school shooting. And on the 14th of February 2018, Nicholas Cruz carried out his plans, committing one of the deadliest and most horrific mass shootings in American history. During the morning of the 14th of February 2018, Nicholas prepared his weapons as well as his plan for the day, planning to take an Uber to the school at around 2 p.m., which he actually did. At 2:06 p.m., an Uber driver arrived at Nicholas Cruz's home picking him up. Nicholas told the driver he was going to a music lesson, hence the large bag, asking to be dropped off at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. He arrived at 2:19 p.m., just 20 minutes before dismissal. At 2:20 p.m., a school staff member noticed Nicholas and claimed he was purposefully walking towards Building 12, which was a 3-story freshman building that stored dozens and dozens of classrooms. Nicholas Cruz entered Building 12 through the east stairwell, where he then retrieved his AR-15 from his bag. Whilst he was doing this, a student walked into the stairwell. Cruz then told the student, "You'd better get out of here." The student then quickly walked away, whilst Cruz continued to load his AR. Nicholas Cruz then exited the stairwell towards the hallway and began firing, shooting into multiple different classrooms, including 1216, 1215, and 1214, before then returning back to 1216 and 1215, continuing to fire. He continued to shoot at students in the hallway, hitting 14-year-old students Martin Duque Anguino, as well as Gina Montalto, and another 15-year-old student, Luke Hoyer. All three were killed by Cruz in the hallway. Cruz then shot another student, Ashley Baez, who was hit in the leg. However, she survived. Rest in peace. Cruz continued on through the school, shooting into classrooms and at students in the hallways, hitting multiple people. Among the people killed include 14-year-old Alyssa Aladeth, 14-year-old Elena Petty, 14-year-old Alex Schachter, 16-year-old Carmen Shentrup, 35-year-old geography teacher Scott Beagle, 37-year-old assistant football coach Aaron Feiss, and a 49-year-old wrestling coach Chris Hickson. The adults killed by Cruz were killed trying to save their students and died as heroes. Rest in peace to everyone mentioned within this video. My thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends of anyone affected by this tragedy. Whilst the shooting was taking place, students in classrooms began to record what was going on within the school, even messaging their loved ones, which is heartbreaking. A 17-year-old student who was sheltering with other students during the shooting messaged his parents saying, "I just want you to know I love you," as well as explaining that there was a shooting at the school. Nicholas then moved through the 2nd and 3rd floor, shooting into classrooms and killing more innocent students, killing 6 more students. Nicholas Dworet, Jamie Gutenberg, Meadow Joe Pollock, Helena Ramsey, Joaquin Oliver, and Peter Wang. At 2:27 p.m., 6 minutes after the shooting had begun, Nicholas dropped his rifle and backpack. Before leaving building number 12, he blended in with other students and managed to escape the school. At 2:50 p.m., Nicholas walked toward a nearby Walmart and Subway before buying a drink at Subway. At 3:01 p.m., he went into a local McDonald's before leaving just minutes later. At 3:41 p.m., over an hour after the shooting, police noticed Cruz walking through a Coral Springs neighborhood and arrested him shortly after. By this time, 17 people had sadly lost their lives, 14 students and 3 teachers. They are remembered by family, friends, classmates, and other loved ones. Rest in peace. After his arrest, Nicholas was taken to the hospital briefly before being sent to Broward County Jail. He was placed on suicide watch and isolation due to concerns about his mental state. On the day after the shooting, the 15th of February 2018, he was charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder and 17 counts of attempted first-degree murder for the students he had wounded during the shooting. If convicted, Nicholas would face life in prison or the death penalty. At the beginning of the trial, Cruz declined to enter a plea, so the judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. In 2021, 3 years after the shooting, Cruz pleaded guilty to all 34 counts, which included 17 counts of murder and 17 of attempted murder. In open court, he admitted to everything and said he was sorry.
Is there anything else that either side wishes to add to the record or present at this time?
I believe Mr. Cruz wanted to make a statement to the court and to the victims present in the
Yes.
courtroom.
Okay.
May I take off my mask?
Sure.
I am very sorry for what I did, and I have to live with it every day. And that if I were to get a second chance, I will do everything in my power to try to help others. And I am doing this for you, and I do not care if you do not believe me. And I love you, and I know you don't believe me, but I have to live with this every day. And it brings me nightmares, and I can't live with myself sometimes, but I try to push through because I know that's what you guys would want me to do. I hate drugs, and I believe this country would do better if everyone would stop smoking marijuana and doing all these drugs and causing racism and violence out in the streets. I'm sorry, and I can't even watch TV anymore. And I'm trying my best to maintain my composure, and I just want you to know I'm really sorry. And I hope you give me a chance to try to help others
As this guilty plea meant that the jury just had to decide whether Cruz would receive life in prison or the death penalty. Due to the laws around sentencing in Florida, when a defendant pleads guilty to a capital case, a separate sentencing phase is held in order to decide between life in prison or death, meaning he never had a trial to see if he was guilty or not, only a trial to determine whether he would get life in prison or the death penalty. During the sentencing trial in 2021, the prosecutor presented security camera video and surveillance footage which took place during the shooting, as well as testimonies from first responders and law enforcement. They also showed graphic evidence in how the shooting was planned and premeditated, showing that Cruz shot students but then returned back to them in order to shoot them more times. The defense argued toward multiple mitigating factors, claiming Cruz had alcohol fetal syndrome, meaning his birth mother drank heavily whilst pregnant with Nicholas, including a testimony from a psychiatrist showing Cruz had a history of psychological behavior. It's important to know that the defense were not arguing as to if he was guilty or not at this time, as he had already pled guilty, but instead they argued as to why he should have been given life instead of the death penalty. After weeks of jury deliberation, the jury voted 9-3 in favor of the death penalty. But because it was not unanimous, the only remaining legal sentence was life in prison without the possibility of parole. On the 2nd of November 2022, Judge Elizabeth Scherer formally sentenced Nicholas Cruz to 34 consecutive life sentences without the chance of parole, one for each murder and attempted murder count. During one of the final court hearings, families of the loved ones lost or wounded in relation to this shooting would take the stand and express anger, grief, and loss toward Cruz, speaking directly to him. Today, we remember the lives lost at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, students and staff whose dreams were cut short. Their courage and memory will never be forgotten. Nicholas Cruz chose violence and caused immense pain, and there is no excuse for his actions. Let us honor the victims by keeping their stories alive and working to prevent such tragedy from ever happening again. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe as it helps in a massive way.